Let's register on the electoral list. This is a message from Equinoxe Television.
(6 p.m. in Isu, in the Menchum Division, Northwest region of Cameroon, same time right here in Duala. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a 6 p.m. edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television. Our top stories tonight. 12-year-old Dylan, the lone survivor of the devastating Akuna road accident, is undergoing treatment at the regional hospital in Boya. Despite suffering multiple fractures, doctors report that his condition is stable. The tragic accident that occurred yesterday claimed at least 9 lives. Away from that, Cameroonians speak out about their frustrating experiences with their mobile internet services, particularly in Duala. The Telecommunications Regulatory Agency recently imposed financial sanctions on 2 major network providers for poor services. A telecom expert warns that without tackling the root causes, poor services will persist in this nation. And away from that, the Minister of Communication and Government spokesman Rene Sadi maintains President Paul Biya's 50-50% in taking part in the upcoming presidential elections. Rene Sadi insists that President Paul Biya himself said he will tell Cameroonians if he will seek re-election or not when the time comes. He was speaking once more to a foreign media known as Dutch Vela. Those are top stories, the news in full in a jiffy. Thank you so much for choosing Equinoxe Television to get yourself informed. For presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. The lone survivor of the ghastly road accident that occurred in Akuna, 12-year-old Dylan, is currently receiving treatment at the regional hospital in Boya. Though it is reported that he suffered multiple fractures, the doctors say he is in a stable condition. Rex Afon is at the hospital and updates us on the accident, which claimed at least 9 lives. His report.
We are at the regional hospital Boya, where the lone survivor of the ghastly road accident that happened in Akuna is currently receiving treatment. He is 12-year-old Dylan, who was traveling from Balangi to Muya. He was traveling with his stepmother, who also perished in this accident. The director of the regional hospital, Dr. Mokake, has told us that only 1 person was brought to this hospital as the lone survivor of this accident.
Yesterday till now, we've received 1 patient at the regional hospital of Boya for continuous management, and this gentleman is a 12-year-old boy, Dylan, and he came in with severe injuries, multiple fractures, but he has been stabilized. The whole team was mobilized. He's very much stable now. The regional delegate of public health dispatched some doctors to the scene to find out and give aid to those that were there. And according to the reports that the regional delegate put at our disposal, we have actually, they met 9 corpses and this little boy who survived.
Also, we have seen Dylan with our eyes, and we can confirm to you that the things that have been said about him and his current state are true. He is currently stable. We just left the ward where he is currently receiving his treatment now, and we met with the mother, who specified that it's a tragic incident for her and for the family.
They have done the X-ray and they are saying that they have to do the operation for the hand and the leg.
In total, reports from health personnel indicates that 9 persons perished in the Akuna incident, and it is the same that has been confirmed to us through a phone call with the divisional officer for Moyuka. Reporting from the Boya Regional Hospital, I am Rex Afon, Equinoxe Television.
Thanks a bunch, Rex Afon. And the fight against the growing rate of insecurity in Duala, officers of the Lokbesu Territorial Gendarmerie Brigade have laid hands on a fake commissioner and his gang operating the Peka Deset neighborhood. The men of the underworld had a modus operandi targeting young girls online and kidnapping them for ransom. It's thanks to the information provided by the population that the suspects were arrested while others are currently on the run. Ese Lucilengu has more.
For the past days, insecurity has gained momentum in the Peka Desert neighborhood, with several individuals being kidnapped, raped, or assaulted. Amid this heightened insecurity in this locality, which is on the outskirts of Duala, the National Gendarmerie launched investigations that resulted in the arrest of a suspect.
The recent case was that of a victim that was kidnapped on the 31st of May. She came and laid her complaint here. Following investigations on the 14th, we succeeded to lay hands on one of the accomplices, alias Choco, who is already in New Bell.
The arrest of a suspect known as Choco enabled the elements of the Lokbesu Territorial Gendarmerie Brigade to apprehend the main suspect, Enak Détenons, alias Commissaire.
After deepening investigation, we succeeded to lay hands on the chef de gang. I would like to precise that this guy this is not his first time of doing this, because he's just from prison for the same act of kidnapping.
The gang also made use of online scamming, particularly targeting female students. Once convinced, the victims were taken to the bush where their belongings were seized and their mobile money accounts emptied.
Then we went to the bush where they do all the kidnapping, and then we had innerwears of women. Then we have pants, breastwears, then even ropes that they use to tie people when they kidnap them.
One of the victims recounts her experience.
So I was at Bonaberry Rai. The driver told me that the person sitting behind is dropping just in front. So I entered the taxi just out of politeness. So suddenly I woke up, it was already night. I saw myself in a bush, tied up, my mouth, my legs and my hand tied up. Then they were asking me to unblock my phone so I could ask people to send the money, that they needed just money.
Another victim was deceived by Enak Détenons, who claimed to be a commissioner with an office in Bonanjo. Meantime, some members of the gang are still on the run, while the fake commissioner in the days ahead will face competent authorities at the Vuri Court of First Instance.
We would like to sensitize the population to be very careful on the use of social media. You don't honor rendezvous from social medias for people you don't know.
Citizens are reminded to call the hotline 113 to report any incidents that threaten their safety.
Still talking about insecurity, we'll take you this time around to Cameroon's troubled northwest region, where precisely the town of Bali, that stands as a painful reminder of a war that has torn communities apart. From lockdowns and burning buildings to years of silence and fear, the scars of conflict remains visible. But a new chapter seems to begin as Cameroon's Elite Rapid Intervention Battalion opens a base in Bali, raising both hope and hard questions about the road to peace, as our chief correspondent in the Northwest region, Bostella, tells us.
In 2021, Bali endured a 90-day lockdown imposed by separatists. It was one of the town's darkest chapters, with supplies of food and medicine brought to a standstill and schools completely grounded. Over the years, gun battles, kidnappings and arson attacks reduced public and private infrastructures to ashes.
We today can go to the quarters, to the hinterlands, which was difficult in the past years. To be honest, there was a time in Bali where almost every business was closed. But today, even the petty traders along the road are having their businesses open.
A new chapter has opened. The Rapid Intervention Battalion has inaugurated a new base in Bali, a facility that includes a command post, dormitories, control units and a refectory, and staffed with personnel and operational equipment.
This camp is not only the camp of the day, it's the camp of Bali population. We are asking them to work hand to hand with security and defense forces, and especially for the bee, to serve that population and not to serve themselves.
During the inauguration, 4 former fighters dropped their weapons publicly asking the community's forgiveness.
The entire population is filled with joy that the bee has come to stay. They have done quite much to bring about normalcy, the normalcy we are experiencing at this moment.
In Bali, where silence once came with fear, the hope now is that peace will return and stay.
We need peace, and we need this peace desperately. And for this peace to be achieved, we have to do what we know we have to do.
For a town like Bali still healing, the arrival of the bee is a sign of changing tides, but as Bali knows too well, true peace is not declared, it must be built.
Chief Correspondent in Northwest Region Bostella reporting there now to one of our major lead stories. Some Cameroonians have expressed their bitter experiences while subscribing to the internet services of the different mobile telephone network providers in the country. They were sampled in the city of Duala following the financial sanctions levied on two major network providers by the Telecommunications Regulatory Agency for poor services. An expert in telecommunications criticizes the sanction and says once the core problem is not resolved, the problem will still persist. Innocent Aze has more.
1 billion francs CFA is the new fine slapped on the face of MTN Cameroon by the Telecommunications Regulatory Agency, ART, for failures in network coverage and poor quality service. Orange Cameroon, on its part, gets a fine of 1.4 billion francs CFA for failure to comply with coverage and quality service obligations, plus 200 million francs CFA for non-compliance with pricing rules. Consumers sampled in Duala on the sanction react differently. It is terrible. You subscribe for 1 gigabyte internet connection per day, yet you surf only for a few hours and it stops. In certain areas in Duala, you don't have good connection and it consumes our money and megabytes. It is not normal, so we are unsatisfied. We don't understand what is happening with internet connection in Cameroon. We spend, yet unable to enjoy the services. It drives one crazy.
Mais tu ne fais même pas 3 heures de temps, on te dit que tu n'as plus de connexion. Nous ne comprenons pas ce qui se passe.
A protector of consumers' rights, Alphonse Ayisi Abena, knows that it is an umpteenth sanction, but with a prevailing situation, such a fine to him will not heal the wounds of the population. He thinks poor management of the optical network fiber is the core of the problem that needs to be solved by ART. It is managed by an operator that resells to its rivals. The optical fiber, he adds, be completely liberated for other operators to invest in it and exploit it for the well-being of Cameroonians.
Pour que la connexion, que ce soit data-voix, soit fluide.
Tet Jose Dieudonné, an expert in telecommunications on his part, says
Je voudrais faire observer que
the sanctions taken by ART against the two network operators is already a start of solution, but which is light and cannot remedy the situation suffered by Cameroonians. He advises for piercing actions to protect the environment and consumers in terms of installing orderly, more optical network fiber utility poles.
d'installation des antennes.
Protectors of consumer rights urge the Telecommunications Regulatory Agency to impose the restoration of megabytes not consumed by consumers during internet interruptions as their compensation.
Now we talk politics. Communication Minister and government spokesperson Rene Sadi maintains his stand on the possible candidacy of President Paul Biya. Speaking to another foreign media outlet after Radio France International, he said the probability of President Paul Biya's candidacy remains at 50-50. Babla Jonathan tells us more.
Cameroon's Minister of Communication and Government spokesperson Rene Sadi tells German media outlet Deutsche Welle that when the president's time comes, he will tell Cameroonians if he will seek re-election or not. He adds that President Biya promised to do so, and until he does that, the probability of his candidacy remains 50%. Contrary to the 100% certainty of Professor Jacques Famendongo, Communications Secretary of the Central Committee of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, Minister Rene Sadi emphasizes that President Paul Biya is the one to decide. He, however, acknowledges the fact that Article 27 sub 3 of the Internal Rules and Regulations of the CPDM states that the national president is automatically the flag bearer of the party.
Who is Rene Sadi beyond his ministerial role? Malaglari shares insights into Sadi's background and influence, highlighting his years of experience in high-level government positions. Her report.
Born in December 1948 in the town of Marwa, far north Cameroon, Rene Sadi, Minister of Communication and politician, served the Cameroon government for more than 40 years at the top of the decision-making sphere. He started as the last cabinet director of Amadou Ahidjo at the age of 34, then continued with Paul Biya, one of the reasons he is described as an elite. Sadi served as a technical advisor in the president's office from 1983 to 1985. President Paul Biya appointed Sadi as deputy director of the civil cabinet in 1995. And he also acted as Deputy Secretary General of the Presidency from 2004 to 2007, and twice Minister in charge of missions at the Presidency. Rene Sadi was highly respected at the Presidency because of his position and power. Biya transferred Sadi to the post of Minister of Special Duties on June 30, 2009. Acting on Biya's behalf, Sadi went to Elekam, the Electoral Commission, and submitted Biya's papers to run as CPDM candidate for the October 2011 presidential election. Following Biya's re-election, he appointed Sadi to the important post of Minister of Territorial Administration and Decentralization on December 9, 2011, while dismissing him from his post as CPDM Secretary General. Communication Minister, according to reports, knows a lot about the management of the country, having been for a long time in the closest cycle of the head of state, whom he has accompanied on almost all his trips. On March 2, 2018, he became Minister of Missions at the Presidency of the Republic. And on January 4, 2019, he was appointed Minister of Communication and Government Spokesperson till date.
And in the same vein, political analysts believe President Paul Biya's silence on his candidacy has exposed divisions within the ruling Cameroon People's Democratic Movement CPDM party. Following conflicting statements from top party officials Rene Sadi and Professor Jacques Famendongo, Professor Mark Anthony says the party's weakness is evident. With elections looming in October, he thinks the CPDM's internal discord may undermine its chances of winning this election. Annabella Leke tells us more.
C'est du 50-50, forcément, puisqu'il a dit qu'il se prononcera le moment venu.
Rene Sadi, Minister of Communication, affirms on an international channel that the possibility of President Paul Biya to stand as CPDM candidate for the upcoming presidential election is 50-50.
Forcément, c'est du 50-50.
Meaning, he may or may not stand for the election. He goes further to say Paul Biya had earlier said he will speak up when the time is right. Moments later, another CPDM bigwig, Professor Jacques Famendongo, Minister of Higher Education and spokesperson of the CPDM party, contradicts the outing of Rene Sadi. On the same channel, Professor Famendongo insists that Paul Biya is the natural candidate of the CPDM party.
You see, we are in a nation where nothing seems to be normal.
Amidst all these conflicting declarations, President Paul Biya maintains silence. Silence, which Professor Mark Anthony thinks speaks the loudest.
For the fact that the president has not come up to declare, for the fact that he has not even called for a congress because he is the president of the party as well, already should mean a lot to any rational person.
The political analysts add that the recent outings of top CPDM militants, which can be described as conflicting and confusing, can play down on the image of the party.
This particular outing further worsens the situation of the party, further widens the gap in the minds of the people concerning the party.
These disagreements among top CPDM militants, analysts say, can go a long way to visibly present the division within the ranks of the ruling CPDM party. End of this first part of the news. Coming up next is episode 3 of How is Cameroon Today? Stay with us. Deep in the heart of Cameroon's Leke division lies the struggling locality of Colve. Despite its potential, the area is plagued by crumbling infrastructure and basic service shortage. The road to Colve is now a nightmare for civil inhabitants in this area, plagued by crumbling infrastructure. We'll be getting some latest information about the challenges faced by these people on a daily basis. Coming up next, Smart Gibble gives us details about how the people of this area are suffering on a daily basis due to the fact that they lack good roads and potable water and equally other basic amenities. Details in his report.
We are in the Bekasmelen village, which is in the outskirts of Obala in the Leke division, and moving further is Nkolve. From Bekasmelen to Nkolve, the inhabitants go through hell because of the poor state of road. From Bekasmelen to Nkolve is about 3 kilometers, which is only accessible on commercial motorbikes, and it's only the courageous one who can make the journey, while those with limited faith cannot take the risk of plying the roads, which many decide to take a deviation going through Lebanze. The best route to leave from Ubala to Nkolve is passing through Bekasmelen, but there is a place at Nkol Kabisala which is a trap for us, so much so that even bikes can't pass there. We are forced to pass through Lebanze to have an easy movement. Even that, it is not a bed of roses. Towards Bekasmelen, just as you saw, we are forced to deviate, which is just a stretch. If the road was good, we wouldn't have been changing route, which comes up to 16 kilometers. This difficult stretch of road has a huge effect on the population, who will have to pay the price. Financially, they have to pay sometimes double or even triple of the transport fare. Leaving Kolve to Obala during the dry season is either 1,000 or 1,500, but when it starts raining, it goes up to 2,000. And it's not easy on us, since all of the roads are bad. It's not easy on the passengers, because at times the bike riders ask us to go down and move on foot. Passing through the deviation, we are finally at Nkolve roundabout. At Nkolve, the population are in a serious crisis. Getting potable water is another turn on the flesh. This is so because all taps found in Nkolve are dry. This has been the situation for several years now, as the only water they see is when it rains. That water will only flow after 10 years, maybe after I'm dead. Since it was installed there, no drop of water has come out of it. You come and tell lies to your elders. You will also be old like us one day. God is looking at you. I'm 85 years old, and since I've been drinking water from the ancestors. A public tap in front of the chief's palace, and a little bit further, another which has now been transformed into an oven to dry cocoa seeds. Even trying to get water, but no drop is coming out. We go very far in search of drinking water. We have a very small water source, which is not even enough for the village. The source in question has been engulfed by grass and trees. Getting to the source, we discovered that the water doesn't have the characteristics of good drinking water, causing sickness. Many are having diarrhea because we don't have water. The water source you see here, everyone here and those around Kolve even fight in order to fetch it. I'm requesting that they make it possible for us to drink water normally. This is the only drinking water spot found in Colvey. The population are now calling on the authorities to intervene.
And it's but obvious that the people of Colvey are in dire need of development. That's it for the second part of the news. Talking Point is up next. My guest tonight is ASHU AKEPE, consumer rights defender, and we'll be discussing on the recent fine that was levied on some telecommunications company in Cameroon. Good evening. It's a pleasure to have you on Talking Point tonight.
Good evening, Immaculate Fogwe, and thank you for having me on your program tonight. It is always a pleasure to talk about consumers' rights.
ASHU AKEPE, how will you rate the quality of services offered by Cameroon's leading telecom operators in the country at the moment?
Talking about the rating of our mobile telephone services in Cameroon, if I have to give a score on a scale of 10, I will grade it 3 on 10. Yeah, because you can't make a successful call today in this country without interruption. Either you are talking and the person on the other side is not getting you, or the person on the other side is talking and you are not getting the person. At the same time, your megabytes are being consumed. You buy megabytes, they don't come in the quantity, or at times your megabytes disappear. You call their customer services, they can never restitute your megabytes, even if they discover that what you're saying is true. Okay? So there is poor voice bundle, the data bundle is also very poor and exorbitant.
Added to some of the challenges that we heard in the report done by Innocent Aze, what are some other significant challenges or hardships that consumers have been facing for several years now due to poor services from these two telecom companies?
The challenges faced by consumers of telecommunication service in Cameroon are multifaceted. We move from poor network, slow connection, non-respect of consumers' rights and privacy. You see, you have your phone, you buy data, the next seconds that follows, you have about 10 SMS that comes in. None of those SMS are giving any information about your data, how you consume, or the advantages, or what to do in case of difficulties. You always see SMS that are talking about other product, artists, hearing here. So it seems as if our telecommunications companies in Cameroon have become instead marketing agencies for other companies, which is very bad. That's what I call non-respect of the consumers. It is very bad. You open your inbox, you have 100 messages, and none is educative. All are adverts.
In your opinion, how has the lack of reliable telecom services impacted economic growth, innovation, and development in this country?
It is obvious that the digital economy depends solely on quality of telecommunication. We cannot talk of digital economy keeping aside telecommunication, because it is just like telling somebody, if I have to travel to Yaoundé, from Duala to Yaoundé by road, and the roads are not good, I will get to Yaoundé on time. You cannot successfully have a digital economy when the telecommunication services are not top-notch. So their impacts are heavy. We'll talk of telecommunication today. It is applied almost in every field of life, in medicine, military, intelligence, agriculture. In everything, climate surveillance, we need quality telecommunication services. So our telecommunication service providers in Cameroon, they really have to provide us the 5G. They are brandishing everywhere on their communication garden. We really need to have that for us to really harness and exploit the what we call a digital economy.
Though we are out of time, let's take this last question. Do you believe the recent fine imposed on MTN and Orange Cameroon will be enough to drive meaningful improvement in their services?
Well, as all of us have read, the Telecommunication Regulation Agency have slammed a fine of close to, let me say, is it 4 billion on the 2 telecommunication companies in Cameroon. To me, it is a very weak fine. It does not measure up to the gravity of what consumers are going through. Okay, it doesn't measure up. When I read the paper they published, they talk of court of conviction, the absence of connection in some areas. It's true. When you're traveling, for example, when you travel along the Duala, you're on the highway, there are spots on the highway that there's no connection. The same on the Duala Bafusam, Duala Kumba highway. Those are just a tip of the iceberg. Look at this other aspect of it. Look at this other aspect of implanting their base transmission centers in residential areas. Nobody is talking about that, but you don't know the havoc that these electromagnetic waves have on human life. Just imagine that we lost just 1 person per year. Do you think the life of 1 person is less than 4 billion? So that thing, that amount they have slammed them, to me, it is a clear proof that there is some emotional relationship between the Telecommunication Regulation Agency and our mobile telephone operators in this country. Something more tangible should be given to these people. And it should not just be coming up with sporadic sanction. I think the Telecommunication Regulation Agency should not always try to derail consumers by coming out sporadically and giving these people this sanction. If they do their work of gendarme very well, they will not even need this type of sanction. These people need to be policed so that they do their job rightly. They do their job right. That is what we need. This sanction does not help us.
ASHU AKEPE, consumer rights defender, thank you so much for your time. And that's what put a cap to today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much for always staying with us. Coming up next in some few minutes is the program Equinoxe 1 at exactly 8 p.m. You have the news in the French language with Irish Konomala. Have a lovely day in the company of more programs on Equinoxe Television. Bye-bye for now.